Citing American exceptionalism and unilateralism of Western world, many people believe that there is no international law and the world seems to have the might is right principle. This could be substantiated to a great extent because of the unilateral action of the big powers throughout the history that shows that might is right. And there's even a famous saying in the law that says occupation is the reality and claim is just false. That indicates that if you have power and you have already captured something, then that's yours. But on the other hand, we see that there are so many things that are internationally respected, like the airspace of countries, marine border or coastal belt of any country, what we call continental shelf, and in the same way borders all over the world are respected. Well, there have been incidents whereby international border was violated by big powers, but that is not the case. Like if there are 190 countries, even the borders of not all these countries have been violated. They have been violated. Like there have been countries whose borders have been violated, like that of Iraq, Syria, Iran in recent times. But in most of the cases, these borders have been respected. And there has been a debate about this justice, about this law, and there was a Greek philosopher who was debating with Socrates, and Socrates was asking the definition of justice. And he says, and he said at the time that justice means to protect the interest of the stronger. So in international law, and if we look at the international society around us, we find it that to a great extent this is the case. Look at all the Western countries where capitalist classes are powerful and most of the laws protect the interest of the capitalists. You would hardly come across any law that flies in the face of free market economy. The same could be said about NAFTA and about other capitalist countries like Japan, Australia. There could be benign laws that might claim to protect the rights of the working class, but in practice they do not do that either. And we see that if the United States violates international law, nobody is bothered, and it has imposed illegal wars on different countries throughout its history, and there is no one to challenge it. And the composition of Security Council also indicates that international law and the law in general serves the interest of the stronger. Like despite all tall claim of democracy and democratic norms, we have an international body where only 5 powers wield veto powers, and they can just undo anything that is passed by the General Assembly or by the mass majority of the world, by the mass majority of the people across the world. So in that way, Thrasymachus was right, that justice means to protect the interest of the stronger. For instance, a verdict was given against the United States in the case of Nicaragua, but United States does not care. Whenever the United Nations serves the interest of the big powers, it is relevant. Otherwise, America simply says that United Nation could become irrelevant. In the same way that when the countries assembled together a few years ago talking about the laws regulating war and conflict area, and the United States demanded that its troops should be exempted even if they have committed war crimes, and no country can dare to do anything at all. So then there is a debate, does international law really exist? According to Hegel, a law that does not have enough power to enforce itself could not be considered a law. Since behind international law there is no international force, there is no international police that could implement it. That's why many critics believe there is no international law. So if international law has declared that all countries are equal, no matter big or small, but in practice that does not happen, and there is no international force to implement it. There have been a number of resolutions against Israel, but there is no power to enforce it. Israel has illegally occupied Golan Heights. It has been constructing, it has been carrying out settlement in occupied territories. But since Israel enjoys the support of the most powerful country or most powerful countries on the earth, no power can do anything against Israel. Similarly, apartheid enjoyed the support of a powerful country directly or indirectly, covert or overt support. And for a long time, they kept on ruling over South Africa, and international law could not do anything. So we do not have an international force. What we do whenever big powers want, they just form some sort of coalition forces, and then they occupy a certain country, or they just decide to teach a tough lesson. United States and other powers were accused of committing war crimes in Yugoslavia, targeting civilian installation. They have done the same thing in Iraq. The United States and its allies were accused of committing war crimes in other parts of the country, but nothing can be done. And even if the Security Council, even if the United Nations or General Assembly passed some resolution, or even if Security Council, non-permanent members of Security Council pass some resolution, it does not have any value. So since international law does not have any binding force, it does not have any force that could implement its decision, critics believe that international law does not exist.